The first sighting occurred on a Tuesday in July, when Maria Santos was returning from the well with water for dinner. She stopped in the middle of the dusty path with her heart racing as she saw the enormous tracks in the red earth. They were unmistakable lion prints, fresh and deep, right in the center of the small village of Saube, in the countryside of Minas Gerais. "Lions," she whispered to herself, dropping the water buckets and running back home. "There are lions here." Within hours, the news spread through the community of 40 families like wildfire. Phones rang, WhatsApp messages bombarded the village groups, and panic seized everyone. There had been no lions naturally in the region for over a century. Where had they come from? Why were they there? Juan Pereira, 67 years old, was repairing his farm fence when he heard the first roars at dawn on Thursday. It wasn't the distant sound of animals in a zoo or documentary. It was close, real, wild. It came from the direction of the forest that bordered his property, where he had lived alone for 15 years since his wife's death. "Don João!" shouted Toninho, his nearest neighbor, arriving breathless and carrying 2 suitcases. "Who wants to leave? The lions are surrounding the village every night. Everyone is evacuating." João stopped hammering and looked at Toninho with a calm expression. "Evacuate where?" "To the city. The mayor's office has set up a shelter in the municipal school. Come with me, João. It's dangerous to stay." João shook his head slowly, returning to hammer the barbed wire. "Toninho, son, I was born on this land. My father was born here. My grandfather too. I'm not going to flee because of some lions." "But Don João, they could attack." The old farmer stopped working again and looked directly into the young man's eyes. "Toninho, how old are you?" 28. "Then you don't remember the story, but I do, and perhaps it's time you knew it." In the following 48 hours, São Bento do Campo became a ghost town. Houses were hastily closed, domestic animals taken to the city, and only the streetlights remained as lonely sentinels in the empty streets. Environmental police were called. IBAMA teams arrived with capture equipment, and veterinarians specialized in large felines were summoned from Belo Horizonte. Everyone agreed it was an unprecedented situation. How had 3 adult lions appeared in a region where the species had been extinct for decades? "They probably escaped from a zoo or circus," explained Dr. Roberto Silveira, a biologist specialized in felines, during an emergency meeting at City Hall. "Or they might be animals illegally kept as pets that were released when they grew too large." Father Miguel, who had known all the village families for 30 years, expressed concern. "And what about Juan Pereira? He refuses to leave his farm." "We'll go get him by force if necessary," said the military police lieutenant. "We can't allow a civilian to remain in a dangerous zone." But when they arrived at João's farm, they found all doors locked and a handwritten sign at the entrance. "I am not in danger. I don't need to be rescued. Leave me alone." Dr. Silveira shouted through the fence, "Mr. Pereira, it's very dangerous. They're wild predators." João's voice came from the house porch, calm and determined. "Doctor, I know exactly what they are, and they know exactly who I am." It was Thursday afternoon when they appeared. João was sitting on the porch drinking coffee and watching clouds gather on the horizon when he noticed movement at the forest edge. First, it was just a golden shadow among the trees, then 2, then 3. They emerged from the vegetation with the natural dignity of jungle kings. 3 magnificent adult lions, 2 males and a female, walking single file along the path leading to his backyard. Their manes swayed with the afternoon breeze, and each step was calculated, deliberate. João didn't move from his rocking chair, didn't run, didn't shout, didn't seek a weapon. He simply remained seated, watching as the 3 felines approached his house with a mixture of admiration and recognition. When they reached the backyard, the lions stopped 20 meters from the porch. The older male, with a mane showing gray streaks, took 2 steps forward and studied João carefully. His golden eyes met the farmer's brown eyes, and for several long minutes, they simply looked at each other. Then, in a demonstration that would have made any animal behavior expert question decades of knowledge, the lion lay down, not in the alert position of a stalking predator, but completely relaxed on his side like a domestic cat resting in the sun. The other 2 immediately imitated him. Within seconds, 3 wild lions lay peacefully in João's backyard, as if it were the most natural place in the world. João smiled and sipped his coffee. "Welcome back, boys," he said softly. "I knew someday you would return." 15 years earlier, Juan Pereira wasn't just a retired farmer. He worked as a caretaker at an experimental farm administered by the state. specialized in native fauna reintroduction. The property was located 50 kilometers from São Bento, in a preserved savanna area, where biologists attempted to re-establish species that had disappeared from the region. The project included various species: maned wolves, jaguars, and yes, lions. Not African lions, but descendants of the last American lions that had inhabited colonial Brazil, a genetic line preserved in specialized zoos and being gradually reintroduced in controlled habitats. João was responsible for maintaining the enclosures and feeding the animals, but in a particularly harsh winter in 2008, when he was 52 years old, 3 lion cubs were born prematurely. The mother, stressed by adverse weather conditions, rejected the cubs. The project's veterinarians gave the cubs little chance of survival. "Mr. João," said Dr. Marina Campos, the project coordinator, "we'll do what we can, but we'll probably lose all 3. They're too small, too weak." João looked at the 3 tiny cubs, blind and helpless, struggling to survive in an improvised incubator. "Doctor, what if I take them home? My wife Rosa has raised dozens of orphaned animals over the years, calves, foals, even once a jaguar cub." "João, they're lions. When they grow up, I'll bring them back, but right now they need to be held. They need a mother's love, and Rosa has love to spare." Against all scientific advice, João took the 3 cubs to his house in São Bento. Rosa, a woman of great heart who had never rejected an animal in need, immediately adopted them as if they were her own babies. For 6 months, João and Rosa raised the 3 cubs like a family. They slept in the kitchen during cold nights, played in the yard during the day, and followed Rosa like ducklings follow their mother. She bottle-fed them every 3 hours, bathed them when they got dirty, and sang lullabies when they cried from hunger or cold. "Look," Rosa would tell João while watching the 3 cubs fight over who would sleep closest to her feet, "they think I'm their mother. And aren't you?" João would smile, petting the most daring cub, a male he had nicknamed Rex. "You're doing the job their mother should have done." The villagers knew about João and Rosa's special pets, but most thought they were just large cats or perhaps jaguar cubs. João didn't correct their assumptions. The less attention, the better for everyone. When the cubs turned 6 months old, they were too big to hide. They measured almost 1 meter long and weighed 30 kilograms each. It was time to return them to the reintroduction project. "It's going to be hard to let them go," Rosa cried the night before handing them over. "They're my babies." "Now, Rosa, my love," João consoled her, "we raised them to be free, to be kings, not to live in backyards." On the morning of their departure, João took the 3 young lions back to the experimental farm. Rosa cried as she said goodbye to each one, kissing their foreheads and whispering promises. "Be happy, my children. Be free, and if you ever need Mama Rosa, you know where to find us." The reintroduction project was a partial success. The 3 lions, officially named Alpha, Beta, and Gamma by the biologists, adapted well to wildlife in a 1,000-hectare reserve. They hunted efficiently, established territory, and showed all expected natural behaviors. But 2 years later, the project was cancelled due to lack of federal funding. The experimental farm was sold to an agribusiness, and the reserve was reduced to fragments. Most animals were transferred to zoos, but some simply disappeared. João learned about the project's end from Dr. Marina, who visited him personally to give him the news. "João, we've lost track of your 3 boys. They probably migrated to a larger savanna area. It's natural. Lions can travel hundreds of kilometers establishing territory. Are they okay?" João asked worriedly. "We hope so. They were well prepared for wildlife thanks to the care you gave them in their first months. You and Rosa literally saved their lives." After the doctor's visit, João spent hours on the porch looking toward the forest. "Rosa," he told his wife, "I think our boys are out there somewhere, free, just as we planned. Do you think they remember us?" João smiled sadly. "Rosa, my love, a mother never forgets even when her children grow up and go their own way." Rosa died 3 years later from cancer. João remained on the farm alone, but always waiting. Every afternoon he would sit on the porch and look toward the forest, as if expecting to see familiar figures emerging from the shadows. Now 15 years later, there they were in the yard where they had played as cubs, 20 meters from the porch where Rosa used to hum while preparing their bottles. The lion João had called Rex, now known as Alpha, according to the scientists, raised his head and looked directly at the man who had been his first father. There was recognition in his golden eyes, memory, and something that could only be described as longing. "How you've grown so much," João said softly without getting up from his chair. "You're beautiful, strong, just as Rosa dreamed you would be." Alpha made a low sound, not a roar, but almost a deep purr. It was the same sound he made as a cub when he wanted attention. "I know, my son," João responded as if he understood perfectly. "I missed you every day too." The three lions remained in the yard until sunset. Occasionally, one of them would get up and walk around the yard, sniffing specific places. The spot where the food bowl used to be, the corner where Rosa bathed them, the tree where João had hung a rope for them to play. When it began to get dark, Alpha stood up and walked toward the edge of the yard. He stopped and looked at João one last time, letting out another low purr. It was clearly a farewell. "Come back whenever you want," João said. "This has always been your home." The three lions disappeared into the forest as silently as they had arrived, leaving only tracks on the ground as proof that the visit had been real. In the following weeks, the lions established a routine that would fascinate any ethologist. Every Thursday afternoon they appeared in João's backyard, always the three of them, always at the same time, always with the same silent ceremony. But there was something more to the visit than just nostalgia. In the third week they brought something, the remains of a recent hunt, clean bones from a capybara carefully placed near the porch. João immediately understood the meaning. "They're feeding me," he said, amazed. "They're bringing food for their father." Dr. Silveira, who had returned to study the phenomenon after reports from neighbors about the peaceful visits, observed with binoculars from 500 meters away. "This is Pride family behavior," he explained to his team. They recognized João as part of the group. They're sharing the house resources with him. Each week the lions brought something different. Bones, parts of prey they couldn't completely consume, sometimes just stones or interesting branches that had caught their attention, always deposited in the same place, always with the same reverence. João accepted the gifts with gratitude, even though he couldn't consume them. "Thank you, my boys," he would always say. "You're wonderful children." The situation attracted attention from researchers at universities throughout Brazil. Dr. Patricia Santos from USP arrived to document what she called the most extraordinary case of interspecies bonding ever recorded in the country. "Mr. Pereira," she said during an interview, "do you understand that this challenges everything we know about feline behavior? Lions don't maintain emotional bonds with humans for 15 years. They shouldn't be able to." "Doctor," João interrupted gently, "do you have children?" "Yes, 2. And if you didn't see your children for 15 years, but tomorrow they appeared at your door, would you recognize them?" "Of course." "Then you understand," João smiled. "These lions don't just see me as a human being. They see me as family, and family never forgets." To test his theory, Dr. Patricia suggested a controlled experiment. If there really is specific recognition, they should react differently to you than to other humans. João accepted the test. The following Thursday, Dr. Patricia was standing on the porch next to João when the lions arrived. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Alpha growled low upon seeing the stranger, positioning himself protectively between her and João. Only when João spoke calmly, "It's okay, boy. She's a friend," did Alpha relax and allow her to stay. "They're protecting you, Doctor," Patricia whispered, amazed. "They recognize you as family and are willing to defend you." Gradually, the inhabitants of São Bento began to return. João's story with his lions spread, turning fear into curiosity, terror into admiration. Tourists began visiting the village hoping to see the famous felines. Toninho, the neighbor who had begged João to evacuate, became the biggest defender of the story. "I grew up hearing my grandmother talk about the couple who raised strange animals," he told reporters. "I never thought they were real lions. Don João and Doña Rosa were legends in the village, always rescuing injured animals." The municipal government created the João Pereira Conservation Project, offering environmental education to schools and promoting responsible ecotourism. João became the official spokesperson, telling his story to thousands of visitors. "The lesson is simple," he would always end his talks. "Treat animals with love and respect and they will never forget. It may take years, decades, but true love always finds its way back home." During one of the weekly visits, João did something that moved even the most skeptical researchers. He brought an old photo of Rosa to show the lions. Alpha's reaction was immediate. He approached the photo cautiously, sniffed it for several minutes, and then emitted a series of low vocalizations that could only be described as a lament. "They remember her too," Joanne said through tears. Do they know she's no longer here? Dr. Patricia meticulously documented the behavior. We're seeing evidence that large felines are capable of processing absence and grief. They clearly associate the image with specific memories. Joanne began bringing objects that belonged to Rosa to the weekly visits. Her favorite shawl, a cup she used to bottle feed the cubs, even recordings of her singing lullabies. The lions responded to each object with evident recognition, investigating it carefully and occasionally vocalizing in response. Rosa always said that love never dies, Joanne explained, that once a mother, always a mother, even after death. In the 5th year of regular visits, the lions brought a surprise. 2 young females and 4 cubs. Alpha had formed his own pride and was introducing his family to Joanne. My God, Joanne whispered, watching the cubs play cautiously in the yard where their parents had grown up. You've brought your grandchildren to meet their grandfather. The adult females kept a respectful distance, but allowed the cubs to explore under watchful supervision. It was clear that Alpha had somehow communicated that this place and this human were safe. Dr. Patricia was euphoric about the implication. They're transmitting social behavior from generation to generation. Alpha is teaching his cubs that Joanne is family, expanding the circle of trust. Joanne prepared warm milk in a large bowl, not to feed the wild cubs, but as a symbolic gesture. He placed it in the spot where Rosa used to feed Alpha, Beta, and Gamma 15 years ago. The cubs approached cautiously, more out of curiosity than hunger, but the gesture didn't go unnoticed by the adults. Alpha approached the bowl, sniffed it, and then looked at Joanne with an expression that clearly said, "Thank you." Joanne was 82 years old when his health began to deteriorate. He was diagnosed with cancer, the same disease that had taken Rosa. He refused to move to the city for treatment, preferring to stay on the farm where he had been happy. "If I'm going to go," he told Dr. Patricia during one of her research visits, "I want to go where Rosa went, where we raised our boys, where we were a family." On the last Thursday of his life, Joanne was too weak to get out of bed, but he could see the yard through his bedroom window. Punctual as always, the 3 lions appeared, but this time they did something different. Instead of lying in the yard, they approached the house. Alpha walked directly under Joanne's bedroom window and roared. It wasn't a threatening roar, but a low, prolonged call. Joanne gathered strength to get up and look out the window. "I'm here, my boy," he whispered. "Papa is here." Alpha saw him at the window and made another vocalization, this time softer. It was clearly a farewell. The other 2 joined him, and for 10 minutes the 3 lions remained under the window, looking up as if paying their last tribute. When they finally left, Joanne knew he would never see them again. He died peacefully 3 days later, certain that he had fulfilled his mission in life, to demonstrate that true love transcends species. Joanne was buried in the small cemetery of São Bento next to Rosa. On the day of the funeral, something extraordinary occurred. The 3 lions appeared on the hill overlooking the cemetery. They remained there throughout the ceremony, silent and motionless like sentinels, paying their last tribute. The entire village witnessed that moment. There was no longer fear, only reverence and admiration. Joanne's lions had become part of the community's identity, living symbols that love and gratitude know no barriers. Dr. Patricia organized a scientific tribute to Joanne, meticulously documenting the case for future generations of researchers. Juan Pereira demonstrated that bonds formed with genuine love are indestructible, she wrote in her final report. He demonstrated that animals are capable of lasting gratitude, of recognizing their family, and even of feeling grief. Joanne's farm has become an environmental education center, preserving the house exactly as he left it. The rocking chair remains on the porch, the yard is kept clean, and every Thursday the center staff reports sightings of the 3 lions nearby.